a review programme, so it's yesterday's news. It should start popping up any second now. Morning. Morning, folks. Nancy, you're on time this morning. Any naughty step for you. Morning, James. Morning, Barbara. Kirsty. Callum. Hi, Alistair. Hey, Quentin. Stephen. Morning, Shazza. BJ. Sheila. You're on time this morning, Nancy. Any naughty step for you. Morning, Marlene. John. Paul. Morning, Alex. Hi, Alan. Sheila. Hi, Charlotte. How are you today, hen? Doogie. Hope you enjoyed the show yesterday afternoon, the impromptu broadcast for the two Davies. Morning, Roy. Stuart. Alan. Morning, Robert. Morning, Barbara. Morning, Colin. Morning, Frank. Hi, Stephen. Ted. How's Norway today, Ted? Morning, Christine. Yeah, Christina, sorry. Wallies are getting loose. Morning, Lenny. Karen. Morning, David. Hey, where are we? 84, nearly there. Morning, Duncan. Colin. Adele. Mark. I'll be a wee bit behaving myself today. I've got a co-pilot today, so I'll not be going to have my nut so much. Morning, John. Nearly there. Kevin. Morning, Kevin. Alexander. Ian. Morning, Duncan. Morning, Mandy. Stephen. Nearly there, folks. Morning, Jim. Kathleen. Morning, Elizabeth. How's Deucebug this morning? John. Stevie. 99. Morning, Brian. You're number 100 today. Let's get this broadcast underway. Indytruck, Davy in the truck. Coming to you today from Hillington Industrial Estate, where it's overcast. I think it's about to rain. And it is... in 2 seconds, I'll tell you. And it's 14 degrees, quite clammy. So that's what the weather's like here in Hillington Industrial Estate, just next to Paisley. You want to know what the weather's like where you are? Look at the bloody windy. Alright, so let's get this news review underway. This is the news from the 11th to the 5th, 2022. Wednesday started with two major themes in the rags. The fallout from the programme from government laid out in the speech given to the House of the Has-Beens by Big Ears, and the public inquiry into the death of Sheikha Bayou in police custody in Kirkcaldy in 2015 gets underway. On the programme for government, the rags flip-flop between Tories to tackle cost of living crisis and Tories fail to tackle cost of living crisis. And Davy says, listening to the cartoon character Prince Big Lugs deliver the speech in the House of Has-Beens, and what Big Lugs actually said was, Her Majesty's government will level up across the UK and redistribute the wealth. Now, if anybody's got any idea what that pish is supposed to mean, stick it in the comments, because Davy's not got a fecking clue. Alright, now Davy says, what does it actually mean? Well, we've heard the Tories talk about level up, level up, level up. In fact, Bojo's been giving it to his conference speeches for the last 2 years. I still haven't got a fecking Scooby what level up means. As I say, so if any of you have got a Scooby, stick it in the comments. Right, on the Sheikha Bayou inquiry, his family tells the public inquiry that Mr Bayou was shackled like a slave when his body was put into the ambulance. It was an emotional first day at that inquiry. And I'm sorry to say that the inquiry had to be halted a couple of times as Mr Bayou's sister broke down. Now, as we've spoke about this a wee bit, folks, what happened in 2015 isn't quite clear, so let's hope that the public inquiry gets to the heart of the matter, alright? Right, now, the other story of interest in the rags for me was it was in the Tory graph, and the headlines in that says, let's trust the Foreign Secretary is about to unilaterally change the NI protocols. Now that will trigger a trade war with the EU and would most likely see the US also impose trade sanctions on the UK. Now, little England and the arrogant elite just down that road just don't seem to understand the UK has the weaker hand in this situation. The EU market has 450 million customers, and the EU has extensive trade deals with most of the world. The UK marketplace is 65 million strong, and the UK has no extensive trade deals with anyone. And the few half-arsed trade deals that have been done have been bad for the UK and beneficial to the countries that have entered into these trade deals, i.e. Australia, New Zealand and Japan. I mean, imagine Liz Truss coming back and boasting about being able to sell dairy products to Japan when they're all bloody lactose intolerant because dairy products doesn't feature in their diet. Wow. You know, that's how piss poor these trade deals are. Anyway, the EU won't suffer from a trade war with the UK, as it's already divested itself of trade links with the UK, alright? Now, sanctions or a trade war with the EU will see the UK public suffer, and throw in sanctions from the USA, and things could get really, really bad, kids. Which will bring us on to one of the other stories that are in, that was making the rounds yesterday, okay? So, do the Tory elite really care that the people are suffering? Well, those of you that watched yesterday's impromptu show with me and the other Davy will know that as far as we're concerned, there's been a genocide going on over the last 12 years of austerity. But we covered that yesterday, okay? Right, so moving on. Wednesday, back here in Scotland, and the BBC propaganda machine goes goes after the NHS again, alright? And it's all about the annual health and care survey that said that the situation with GP services and satisfaction with GP services has fallen by 10% to 80%, the lowest figure since 2009, okay? Now, the drop in satisfaction appears to be down to the lack of face-to-face consultation during the pandemic. Last year, only 37% of patients had face-to-face consultations with GPs. Now, the BBC GMS programme had the Tory MSP and health spokesperson, Dr. Sanjeev Gulhani, a GP, tell GMS that he and his colleagues are overworked and stretched to the limit. Well, there's a Davy says here. Davy says, is Mr. Gulhani really stretched to the limit? Because let's face it, if he's a GP who's stretched to the limit, where does he get time to be an MS bloody P as well? So if he's got two jobs, surely his patients are suffering, because he's having to split his bloody attention from his GP practice in Glasgow to his MSP work in Glasgow and Edinburgh. So, Mr. Gulhani claiming that he's stretched is a lot of bollocks. Right. And there's another Davy says here, 80% approval ratings for GP services. Mr. Gulhani's Imperial Masters in England would love GP approval ratings that high. And now, the Scottish Government in 2017 promised to recruit and train 800 more GPs to enter into practice in the years ahead. So far, the number of GPs is up by 278 since the pledge was made. The GP to patient ratio in Scotland is 1 per 1,600 patients. The number in England is 1 per 2,000 patients. Now, Health Secretary Humza Yousaf has said it's going to take the NHS years to recover from the pandemic, and he's right, there's a backlog in absolutely everything. But there's a guy sitting next to me who's had a health episode, and it would appear that his health episode seems to have been dealt with quite well by the NHS. So, you know, it's just a matter of where you live, and it's a postcode lottery, isn't it? Anyway, moving on. Wednesday, Michael Gove crawls out for whatever rock he'd been hiding under to be presented to the media as the face of the government, alright? Now, Gove tells GMB, Good Morning Britain, there will be no emergency budget in light of the cost of living crisis. Susanna Reid, the GMB interviewer, skewered wee Gove over the Tory having promoted leaving the EU as a means to cut the 5% VAT on energy bills. Miss Reid asked Gove, why haven't you cut the VAT on energy bills? And because according to Wee Govey it would help the poorest in society. Well, Wee Govey, he wriggled, he squiggled and he squirmed, but he didn't give an answer. But so Davy will give you the answer, alright? Davy says the reason they haven't cut the VAT on energy bills is simple. The Treasury's coining it in, alright? The Treasury's coining in billions for the VAT on energy, with energy bills being so high. I think the figure I read was that the VAT on energy bills at the moment is bringing in something like 5 billion quid a quarter. Could be wrong, but we'll check that. Alright. So there you go. Wee Govey was trotted out to be the face of the UK government on national television yesterday, or in our case international television, and he was put to the sword by Susanna Reid. And it would appear that GMB are really going after the Tories, by the way, which is a refreshing bloody change, because most of the media have had their backs since the idiot Bojo the Clown came to power. Alright, let's move on. Wednesday, and the debate on the Queen's speech and the programme for government goes on, right? You know, this is going to go on for 3 days, and then there'll be a vote, which is traditionally just waved through. Alright. Anyway, the speech of the day, or the contributor of the day, comes from a Tory MP, Lee Anderson, MP for Ashfield, who tells the Commons that there's no real need for food banks, and that people use them because they can't cook or budget. Now, Davy says, rubbish. The reason for food banks is 12 years of the criminal cabal wrecking the economy and persecuting the poor, the elderly and the disabled with benefit cuts. Alright, there's a genocide going on. You've seen the impromptu programme that David Milligan and I did yesterday. We went into it right through for the start of austerity and all the way up. Food bank use was covered. The war between the banks and the corporations was covered, and the fact that they didn't shut the place down during the pandemic, left it open. Alright. Anyway, let's move on. Wednesday, the Natalie McGarry trial's winding down. We should get a verdict soon. The defence and the prosecution were giving their summations to the jury and to the judge yesterday. And to be honest with you, looking at the evidence that's been presented by Miss McGarry, I think things aren't going to go her way. But it's always hard to tell with a 15-man jury, so we should get something probably the day or Monday on it. The jury's out. Okay. Wednesday, missing ferry document found and presented to Holyrood by the current Transport Minister, Jenny Gilruth. Now, this was the Stushie who signed off on giving the contracts to Ferguson's. Well, apparently this document makes it clear it was the previous Transport Minister Derek Mackay. So anyway, Jenny Gilruth presents the document to Parliament yesterday, and she makes it clear to Parliament there was no cover-up, no secrecy, and as stated, the award was proper and was made by the then Transport Minister Derek Mackay. Okay, right, moving on. Wednesday. The latest GDP figures are out, and it's not good. Growth for the first quarter was 0.8%. No good at all. Anyway, that growth was in January. There was no growth in February, and a contraction of 0.1% in March. Alright, now the UK economy is expected to go into recession in the second and third quarters of this year. So if we think things are a wee bit rough, now they're about to get rougher. And as predicted, unemployment is going to soar. The bounce back for the pandemic's over, kids. The Bank of England says there's a contraction on. They don't think it'll be a deep recession. Davy says, aye, it will. No just will it be a deep recession. I reckon we've got a depression on the cards here, kids. It's not going to be good. Anyway, prospective growth, as projected by the Bank of England, has been downgraded. And the Office for Budget Responsibility isn't feeling any more optimistic either. And as we already know, the UK is set to have the second worst growth in the G20. Not the G7, but the G20, with only sanctioned and a severely restricted Russia coming in below the United Kingdom in the G20 rankings. So buckle up, kids, it's going to be a rough ride. Okay, moving on. Wednesday. And ASLEF warned of disruption to travel on ScotRail on Sundays. It's due to a driver shortage due to disruption in training drivers during the pandemic and a wage dispute with staff knocking back a 2.2% rise. Well, when inflation's running at 7%, 2.2% no pay rise, it's a pay cut. Simple as that. So I think we're going to see over the course of this year vast amounts of industrial action in the public services right across the three lands of mainland UK, and probably we'll see it in the province of Northern Ireland as well. Right then, moving on. Wednesday, and Royal Parasites William and Kate are back in Scotland to woo the gullible. Expect to see a lot of the Royals in the next wee while. As William and Kate and Big Ears and his horse Camilla come up here to tell us how much Her Majesty loves us. Alright, now what's interesting about that is up here we don't really give a shite about the Royals, we don't. I mean, down that road, if a Royal farts, they have a street party. Up here, even the things like the Jubilee and all that, there's nothing planned. Nobody cares. The Duchess of Balmoral has very little impact on our lives. But we're going to see a lot of these parasites up here shortly. Right, moving on. Wednesday, and Bojo the Clown is in Sweden and Finland to sign military plaques prior to both applying to join NATO. And it was announced this morning that Finland has now submitted its request to join NATO. Sweden are expected to join suit. So we'll get a wee bit more Bojo and his trip to the Nordic countries when we get to the paper review, folks, which will be coming along just shortly. Alright, so Bojo's there promising Finland and Sweden that if they're attacked by Russia, that the UK will come to their defence, which, as I say, it's just a pre-runner to both Sweden and Finland joining NATO. As I say, it's announced this morning that Finland has put its application in. Sweden's expected to follow suit on the 16th when the Finnish and Swedish Prime Ministers get together for a conference. Right, let's move on to Ukraine, the latest for the Ukraine war. Okay, Russia pushed back from the city of Kharkiv by Ukrainian troops, with Ukrainian troops liberating small towns and villages around the city. Alright. America warns Europe of risk of cyber threat from Russia. So apparently Russia's going to get its hacking division into disrupting services across Europe. Alright, and bodies of 44 civilians found as Battle of Izum, the Izum city goes on. The bodies were found in a building which collapsed in late March, but rescue services have only now been able to enter the bombed building, because at the moment in the city of Izum, the bombs are still falling. Alright, so that's the latest on what's going on in the Ukraine. The conflict is still concentrated on the Donbass region. Alright, but and the expected announcement of a wider war in Ukraine at the Red Square Parade on the 9th of May, that didn't come around. So what Putin's motives are at the moment and how far he's going to go is still speculation, and most of that speculation is coming from the United States Ministry of Defence. Right, so that's the stories I picked out to talk about, folks. I hope you found them entertaining and I hope you found them informative. So, Tories are doing nothing about the cost of living crisis, we know that. Tories are doing nothing about windfall tax on big energy, we know that. And it looks like Liz Truss and the idiots and the criminal cabal down the road are about to start a trade war with the EU, which is probably going to see a trade war or trade sanctions from the United States. And probably knowing Biden and his Irish links, there'll be a full-on trade embargo with the UK. Because let's face it, the UK is a tiny market of 65 million people. It's about it's smaller than the average nation, and it's just no worth bothering its arse about. It just isn't. The only thing that England produces and sells, as I said already, is professional services and banking services, And well, you can get them in Singapore, Hong Kong, New York, Frankfurt, Paris, Berlin. You don't have Amsterdam. You don't have to go to London for these things. And of course, as we know, the market for manufactured goods, it's done. The cost barriers put up with Brexit, and the customs controls, it just makes trading with the EU unviable for most small to medium-sized companies. So the Bank of England's right in one sense. There is a recession coming, but Davy says it will turn into a depression, because when you've got nobody to sell your goods to except for your internal market, and your internal market's no money in its pocket, then your internal market's gubbed. Because we have a market economy, and we Mrs. McGlumfer's no money. We Mrs. McGlumfer's no buying a carpet. You don't need a carpet factory. There are a couple of hundred people out of work. Work it out for yourselves. It's no bloody rocket science, kids. Alright, let's move on to this morning and see what the rags have to say. Alright, the Scotsman has found email sparks calls for urgent ferries inquiry. Not Disney, just noise for those who are sitting yapping for the sidelines. The Fail has the banana skin ferry deal farce. Banana skin? I guess we're a big banana republic now. We're talking about a criminal cabal down that road that's stripping away human rights at a rapid rate and odds, and they're calling Scotland a fucking banana republic. You've never seen so, you've never heard so much crap in all your life. Jesus Christ. The eye has Tories split over cost of living plan. What plan? There's no cost of living plan. Jesus Christ. The cartoon character Prince Big Ears spelt it out. Levelling up, it means bugger all. Redistribution of wealth means sticking it in the Tory bastards' pockets. Wow. Ah, mental. The Metro has can't cook, won't cook. Well, we've covered that. Idiot. What was his name again? Anderson. Lee Anderson. The MP for Ashfield. Saying that people don't really need food banks. They just can't budget and can't cook. You never heard so much pish in all your life. Stand in the comments saying they were teaching people to cook meals for families for 30 pence a day. That I've got to see. I'm on my way to Ashfield to have a look at this bloody food bank that can feed a family for 30 pence a day. Wow. Right, the Tory graph has UK would help Nordic nations fight with Russia. Aye, right. Heard it. We've got a small Air Force, small Navy with bunches of fucked up broken tubs, and a regular army which only counts on 82,000 soldiers. Jesus Christ. You get more than that at a decent football game. Wow. The Times has UK troops will defend Scandinavia from Putin. I've never heard so much pish in all your life. Couldn't defend themselves against anything. And as we all know, with the Smat-Tat 2 nuclear weapon, or better known as Satan 2, it would only take one of them to wipe the UK off the face of the fucking earth. Alright. The National has, after Govey gives bizarre interview on cost of living and Tories fail to take action while many struggle, First Minister demands UK government stop talking and deliver. Sturgeon calls for meaningful action after lack of anti-poverty measures in the Queen's speech. We just spoke about that. The comedy character Prince Big Ears just waffled a lot of pish. Empty rhetoric. But we know that because these Tories couldn't write it, couldn't fill out a bloody form, never mind write policy. Jesus Christ. The Herald has failure to update COVID failure to isolate COVID patient in time led to hospital outbreak. Well, that would happen, wasn't it? The loony right-wing rag, the Express goes on. Post office ID scandal cost me half my pension. And that's got to do with the inquiry into the, I think it was the Horizon IT system that the post office had. Anyway, an inquiry comes to Scotland to deal with the people and hear testimony from people, postmasters here in Scotland, who were wrongly accused of fraud. Alright, and the Star has wags at war. And apparently, this has got something to do with two footballers' wives having a go at each other. And one of them's told the lawsuit that's going on. I did leak stories about footballers, says footballer's wife, who denies leaking stories on footballer's wife. what can you say to that? You know, like the Star is, it is full of pish. It doesn't half cheer you up though, eh? It's a wee bit of light in the corner of darkness, the Star, even though most of it's made up crap. I mean, that's why you use the term boffin, because it's probably a bobbin off a sewing machine rather than a boffin, you know. Anyway, that's what I've got for you today, folks. Hope you found it entertaining. I hope you found it informative and bang on track. So the usual stuff, all right. Support the independent media. You know the guys. Independent vloggers and bloggers, Caledon Media, Independence Live, Broadcasting Scotland, all the independents out there. ITV on the Fire Stick, you know the stuff. All right. Support Stephen and his YouTube channels, and Gordon and his daily vlog and all. Okay. Where are we? Aye, the usual stuff, you know, partisan politics in your pockets, eyes on the prize, learn how you gonies and get out there and win hearts and minds. And lastly, health messaging, okay. Say no over yet, kids. Follow the guidance. Face coverings in enclosed public spaces. Clean hands and surfaces regularly. Use your napper when it comes to social distancing. And if you're still testing, submit your test results to NHS Scotland so we can keep an eye on how much it's in the community. We'll get a COVID update tomorrow because it's only updating twice a week. The usual lot, look after yourself. We'll be back tomorrow to do it all again. No doubt there'll be some funny stuff goes on the day. We're in Holyrood with First Minister's questions. And I think we're into day 3 of the debate on the Queen's speech. There's bound to be more crap coming to Tories there and all. Usual lot, look after yourself. Be back tomorrow. Bye now.